Okay, the question what you were asking me, at that time, on the bleak days, I solved the problem to make a little bit better. I was using my artistic ability, and as I said before, the commandant found out, and I started to make posters and newspaper, wall newspaper, like any other places where in colleges they are having a board which is telling the happenings. This is the same thing. We were making it in a political way in the camp, the news and all the things and caricatures we were putting on the wall, and this way we informed the people how we are standing in the whole world, because we weren't connected with the world. Only that time it started the so-called anti-fascist organization. The anti-fascist organization was built in for the Russians to find out who were the Nazis. And we are Jews, we were the most good subject to the Russians to trust, because they didn't trust anybody else. So we were working with the Politburo and the MVD, or that time it was the NKVD, to find out who are the Nazi criminals in the camp. And as I said before, they said when we were working on the battlefield, the Russians said, Jews come over because here you are equal. We came over and we became equal. We became the same Nazis. They put us, and I don't want to repeat myself, already I said the story before. Only here we became a little bit different. We became trusty for the system and for the regime. So in this case, we were screening out Nazis who were working against the Jews, and we found it. We found them, lots of them. And on this case, I was relieved to working in the woods with the hard labor, so I had a better condition and better situation, because I don't have to do hard labor. I was just doing the political work, and I used my artistic ability, and we decorated the clubhouse where the social events were existing, and this is the way it went till I came back to Hungary, which was 1947, August the 11th. Only I paid more than 3 years because I was trustee for the commandant. The Jews, and certain Jews, were going back to Hungary in 1944 because, I don't know, I said already in the tape or not, there was a little nuance difference of my registration. When I was captured by the Russians, the officers and the girl was registered me of Evrej iz Vengria, which means Jew, Hungarian Jew. Now, a order came in 1944 when the minority nationalities was able to go back to their origin country where they came from. And this was, that time, a word which means Evrej iz Vengria and not Vengerski Evrej. And the one word I had to pay more than 3 years, the difference, because it wasn't not a nationality. Evrej iz Vengria, a Jew from Hungary. The Vengerski Evrej, it means Hungarian Jew. And because the order came Vengerski Evrej, in the Russian system, there is no change in order. You have to go how it is.
By the book.
By the book. As I said, I was working a little bit easier condition. I was digging out from the frozen earth clays, and I was sculpting a little bit, so I had a little bit better life, so-called better life. I didn't have to have hard labor. Only when the camp was closed, that time I was able to go to other places. And that was from Siberia, we were taken to the Caucasus, which was just the opposite. There was in Siberia 40 centigrade below zero. In the Caucasus, there was 40 centigrades above zero. So we had to go through in 10 days. We went through in the almost 80-degree difference. No, that would be all right. Only when we arrived to this camp, we found out the Hungarians were greeting us. Hey, Jews, what you are doing here? Jews, you are already gone already in 1944. In this camp, they were registered as Jews from Hungary. So I went to the Politburo, and I had a good description about me, and they knew who I am. And I went to the political commandant, and I said, look, we are here Jews again, and the Jews went back home to Hungary, and here we are because of the mistake of the Jivriski Vengri or Vengri from Hungary. And they changed our position. And he said, Alfred, we could do one thing. When it's going to come again the order from the minorities to go back to their origin country, you are going to, and your people, we were already 14 Jews there, you are going to go back. This was 1947 July. And they put it as separate barracks, and Jews were separated from the Hungarians, and the old document was changed, and we were Jews from Hungary and not Hungarian Jews. A week later, there came an order, the Chisti Vengri, which means clear Hungarians are going back to Hungary. Because Matthias Rákosi, who was the leader that time in Hungary, who was the man from Russia, he made it a pact and a gesture to the Hungarians to let the Hungarians to come back. Was a political background. He got a better position from the Hungarians because they were loving him better, because the soldiers are coming back from Hungary and he is bringing back from the prison camps. So there was a order, 1,500 Chisti Vengri could come back to Hungary. I knew one thing. If it's not going to be 1,499 and it's not going to be 1,501, it's going to be 1,500, no more. The train was waiting already, and I knew there is not going to be 1,500 Hungarians. So I went to the political commandant again, and I said, we are not included. And he said, Alfred, no, I don't know what you are, Jew or Hungarian, because you were protesting before, and so and so. So we went on, and I came up with the idea. I said, look, you are not going to take the responsibility to hold here the trains, because you are going to get at least 10 years if you are holding the trains, and you are not getting the 1,500 people. So why don't you put in the Czechoslovakian Hungarians, the Transylvanian Hungarians, the Gypsies, the Jews who came from Hungary, the Jews, and all the things. And he started to cursing me, and he said, let go. And this is the way with the way we arrived in August the 11th, because otherwise I wouldn't come home again. A friend of mine who was in a different camp, he came back to Hungary a year later, paid more. So that's the way I arrived to Hungary, and this is the way I found out in Debrecen. This is the town where I came back, and this is the town where I lived before, and my dear parents lived before. And this is the time, and this is the minute I found out my immediate family and my relatives and all, they were killed in Auschwitz. And this is the time when I broke down, actually, because I knew about the Auschwitz, and I knew something about, only it hit me that time. And in Debrecen, there was the Jewish organization and the Hayas and all the whatever existed. They had a book, like a telephone book, only it was handwritten, and I started to search my family. And I found Judy Goldstein. And I knew that this is, and there was the name Andrew Goldstein, the father, and the mother is Irene Ecker. So I know I have a niece. And I went further and I found my sister-in-law. I didn't find my brother's name. And after I went to the office, and in the office I recognized a person who was my brother's schoolmate. And he recognized me and he said, "Oh, Andre is in Budapest." So Andre is my middle older brother. I don't know, and I don't remember I made the statement how I changed my name. I don't know, I don't remember. So anyway, if I said it, I am going to say again.
It's important that we have it.
It is the thing is because Judy Goldstein. Here we are with Goldstein. My name was Alfred Goldstein. We were three of us brothers. Tibor Goldstein, Andrew Goldstein, or Andre Goldstein, and Alfred Goldstein. So I didn't find anybody, and I found my brother. And after that, I found out my older brother was executed in 1945, February the 24th, in a camp, right almost the end of the war. And he was a doctor. And he was executed, and for his memory, we changed our name to Tibor.
Did you learn the circumstances of his execution?
I learned the circumstances from the execution because the people who was ordered to go marching west, it was in the Hungarian west border. He stayed there voluntarily because he wanted to take care of the sick. He was a doctor. And he stayed there voluntarily, and those people who didn't stay there, they came back. And they were telling me stories about my brother, who carried a big bag in his back, and there was nothing else, just medicine and whatever he could take care of other people. And he voluntarily stayed in Hidegshég. That's the camp name. And the next day, the whole camp was executed, including him. And for this memory, that's why we changed our name to Tibor from Goldstein. So I found out my brother is alive, and I came back to to Budapest. I found him, I found my niece, and I found my sister-in-law, and that was my living relatives from the whole Meshpoche, the whole family. Now, that time, it was 1947, August, and when I came back, I started to make a new life. And that was already the second time. As I mentioned it before, I was a displayman and window trimmer, and I was working with advertisement. I was called in from the political bureau because the papers came with me to Hungary. And there was an offering from the political bureau to me to make the propaganda office and come to the military. Only I just couldn't take it. I didn't want it to go to the military. It was enough for me already, the 8 years from my life. I didn't take it. They were giving me offer that time, house, villa, car, everything, just to get me in. I didn't, and I just went back to work as a window trimmer. And that time I worked myself up, so recognizing, because when I came back in September, there was a contest, a window trimmer contest, and I won the first prize. And after that, it just started to rolling, and it came in the recognition from the Hungarian government. And finally, I wound up when everything was taking away from the middle class and the business was nationalized. I was called in to be a head displayman of a newly built department store, which was in a section of the labored section in Budapest. And that was a showcase, and they wanted to have the best show place to show to the foreigners. And that's why they hired, or actually they begged me to come, because I had a good reputation and I worked up myself. Only I didn't go to the being a member of the Communist Party. And that was the black spot in my life. Only I refused it because I didn't want to do whatever they were ordering me to do. I got the recognition of my work. Actually, I wrote a book of the window trimming and display, which was printed after when I escaped from Hungary. Only they put my name just on the end because they couldn't erase my pictures and all the photographs what I was giving and my complete work. So that came, I was working till 1956. In 1956 came the revolution, the Hungarian Revolution. And in the Hungarian Revolution, some people are saying it wasn't an anti-Semitic movement. Only I have to tell you, and this is the way my believing is, because Matyás Rákosi was Jewish, born as a Jew. Eugene Gerő, which was the industrial minister, Jewish. All the people was born as a Jew, and it was against the Hungarian uprising, was against the communism. Only meantime, under the screen, there was against the Jews, because they had a leaflet which was distributed in Budapest after the revolution. When they broke down after the 3 days revolution, there was a rhyme which I have to quote in Hungarian, and I am going to explain to you in English. It was a rhyme, Itzig nem viszünk Auschwitzig. This is a Hungarian word, which means, Isaac, we are not going to take you to Auschwitz, which means we kill you right here. When I read this little leaflet, and all in my history I told already, I wanted to get out from Hungary, and right here in that moment, I decided I am not going to stay for a minute. I came home and I told to my wife, we had already 2 children. In 1956, I had a 5.5-year-old boy, and I had a 17-month-old baby. And I told to my mother-in-law and my father-in-law we are leaving. And they were asking me how it is possible, how you going to live. Because it was already a curfew in Budapest. After 8 o'clock, you couldn't be on the street. You couldn't leave Budapest without any documentation. So it would be again a long story to tell you that, only I am just telling you a very short way. My brother came with us, and it is also a different, again, a other story why he just came and he didn't came with his wife and with the children. That's a different story again. Only he came with us, and we took the question, dead or life. Only we took the children, my son and my daughter, my wife and my brother, and we sneaked out from Budapest, and we went to the border village. And in a border village, we found guide we were paid money just to give us a guide where to go. And it is happened in December 21st at night, or 20th night, we were going. I took my son in my bag and tied him there. He was sitting in a bag, and my daughter was drugged not to cry in the border, and my wife just was taking a little bag which was for the baby's need. We didn't have anything. We left everything in Hungary. We closed the door, and with all the things what the Hungarian government gave me and what I worked out up from 1948 to 56, and I had a wonderful position. I had a good living. Only I had to make up my mind, do I want to live in a country where I am still a dirty Jew from the beginning of my life, or I would go out to the freedom and leaving this place and put my ambition to other places where I could be valuable citizen. I had to make up my mind. And that mind was strong enough, and we were marching. In 5 o'clock, we started in December. It was drizzling, the rain. It wasn't rain, just drizzling. And the guide who we paid off was guiding us to close to the border area. Only he didn't guide us completely. He just said, there is, you see that light there? That's the other village where is the light, and this is already Austria. You go. So we were cheated, and again, it is a story how we managed. Only we were walking, and we were walking till 2 o'clock in the morning, and the searchlight in the tower was going all around. It was so dark. Thank God gave us the cover, because it was so dark I couldn't see my son's leg and feet. And meantime, I was telling him, if anything you have to do, just do it there, just keep quiet and calm. And when the searchlight was going on, I know from experience, on the prison camp experience, I was aiming to the tower, to the guard tower, because the machine gun could work all around. They couldn't work under the tower. So we were aiming under the tower, and we were walking on the field. You know, it was big mud up to the knees, and my brother was carrying my little daughter, which was drugged, and he tripped under the tower, and the baby cried out. Now, from the tower to the no man's land, it is 100 yards. 100 yards was my longest run, because that time my son was shielding me. And when we run, there was your shooting, and you were just praying for your luck. And when we saw there already on the other side, there are the Austrian soldiers, and the Red Cross were waiting for us, only still the searchlight was going on, and it was the risk. Now, as I said, I was marching already 5 days, 5 nights in my life. I had very hard life in the 8 years period. Only that was my longest run in my life. And we arrived 2 o'clock to Austria. It was 1956, December 21. And we were taken to the village. It's called Péntek village, which is called Friday. That was the name. And after, we were taken to a camp, and from the camp, I just wanted to get away, because I didn't want it to be in camp. I was all in my life, and I get away from the camp, and there I have certain episodes which I don't want to make it longer, the stories. Actually, I met with Vice President Nixon there.
Oh my goodness. Well, you should tell us that story.
Okay, if you want to, I could tell the story, only it takes a little bit more than how much I was. In the room where we were going in, I had my little daughter in my arm, and she was a little blonde, cute little girl, and she's still a cute little girl for me, just she was a baby. And Mr. Nixon and his interpreter was coming into the room. Now, that time, Mr. Eisenhower was sending Mr. Nixon to taking care of the Hungarian refugees. And they approached us because I had my little daughter in my arm. And through the interpreter, he wished us a good luck in the wherever we are going, if we are coming to the United States, in the United States. The interpreter was, we found out in that minute, a far away, very far away relatives of ours. His name was Kornitzer. So anyway, that was a little episode, and we was just there for one afternoon, because in evening we were going into Vienna. And in Vienna, already because of the Christmas season, it's already was short the office hours in the consulate, and that time already was a restriction. Now, this part I am going to tell you because you were telling me to tell the story about what happened with Nixon. So I didn't plan this to tell, only I just wanted to say short when I arrived to the United States. Only this little episode I am going to tell you, and that's going to be, it is for the future generation also. So we were there, and that time already was restriction, just blood relatives to come to the United States. I didn't have blood relatives, only my sister-in-law had 2 brothers. So through my sister-in-law family was there, the mother was there, and the sisters, the Ecker family was there, and my brother Andrew Goldstein, or Andrew Tibor, belonged to the Ecker family. So they were proceeding to come to the United States. Only my paper, they didn't take it, because I didn't have any relatives, immediate family relatives from the United States. So my brother was going to the consul and the consulate. You know, all the time when the people are processed and going to the state the consul is wishing you a good life and a happy life in the new country. And there was the consul, and my brother was standing there with his wife and 2 children, which they came out also to Vienna. That's a different story. Only he wished good luck to my brother. And my brother, in 1 second, he said, I am not going to be happy in the new country. And the consul was stoned because he didn't expect an answer like that. And through the interpreter, which we found out he knew Hungarian already, just he needed the interpreter, he was asking my brother why he is not going to be happy. And my brother said, because my only brother from my family alive, and he can come with me. And he said, where is your brother? This was Friday afternoon. He said, he is here in Vienna with his family. He said, where is his paper? And he said, they didn't take the paper because he doesn't have immediate family. Now the consul, here it's coming the little nuance which I was telling you, all in my life, the little nuances make the big difference. He picked up the phone and he called the consulate, and he said, he was asking in the office, do you have their papers from the Ecker family? And they said, yes. And there is 13 people, and one man is there, Andrew Tibor. They said, yes. So he said, put there Alfred Tibor, which is Andrew's Tibor brother, and give a telegram to the United States, to the sponsoring the Ecker brothers going to sponsor the Alfred Tibor or not. Only take his paper tomorrow. I ordered you to take the paper and process the coming to the United States. Actually, that was Saturday morning, and my brother was taken to a camp where was already atrocities, Nazi atrocities, because the Jews, so-called the Jews, were just coming to the United States, they said. So that time, Mrs. Eisenhower, no, not Mrs. Eisenhower, Mrs. Roosevelt was in that camp. And they didn't take us to this camp, they were taking us direct to the boat, so to the ship, to Bremenhaven. We were already in the ship in Bremenhaven in Friday, and my brother was just arriving at noon. We arrived in the morning, my brother arrived at noon, and they found out we were actually, before they were on the ship, we were already on the ship. And the ship was a military cargo ship. It just came from Korea, the Elroy Elting, and we took that ship, and we were crossing the Atlantic, and in January 30th, we spotted the Statue of Liberty. And this is my short story, and I am sorry, I am very emotional all the time.
Don't apologize.
Because all in my life, I wanted to come to the state in 1937, in 1939, and so and so. And finally, with the risk of our life and with the luck of one man who took the freedom to use the official power, and we came to this country where I wanted to come all the time. And here we are enjoying the freedom. And the reason why I am telling this story, and this is important to me, not because I want the sorrow or I want the sympathy of the people. I was born, as I said in the beginning, wrong time in the wrong place. Only I was born when the history, the 20th century history begins, and I lived through a regime and regimes which I was living in the Nazi regime and I was living in the communist regime, and to know the difference, and there is no difference on the two regimes. There is a difference on the third regime, where you could live and prosper and feel the freedom. And this is what the next generations to understand, because I came from the cold. I know what I gained here. Some people, maybe, they don't know because they didn't experience the dark side of the other systems. And they are misled with certain teachings and with certain studies. Only the thing is, there is no difference in my case. The communism and the Nazism, there are a totalitarian government, and they are not giving freedom. Just I am closing my statement, and I said, I promise you I am going to come back to a little bit with the episode, only this is not the story, it is just the story about Mr. Nixon, and the little episode which I have to tell you. It has happened in 1961 when I wanted to bring my mother-in-law out from Hungary. She was already in Vienna, and I took the opportunity when Mr. Nixon was running for presidency. He had a handshaking tour in Miami. And we came up with the idea, I have to talk to Mr. Nixon. So we were coming in, lining up in the handshaking in Miami Beach, and I told to my brother to hold the line. Only I had a problem because I wanted to give him a letter. Now, if I am reaching to my pocket, I am going to get caught by the service.
Secret Service.
Secret Service. So still, it was sticking out the letter from my pocket, and I reached, and when he was handshaking, I learned, because my English still not fluent, and that time even was worse, I learned that, and I told him, this is the second time I am shaking hand with you, because you promised we are going to have a good life, and I just wanted to tell you, here we are, and here I have an opportunity to talk to you, and I am asking you another favor, and here is a letter to you, and if you have a little time, read it and give me the answer. I was asking then that time to help my mother-in-law to bring to the United States. The thing is, Mr. Nixon right away recognized me, and he said, oh, you are the man who had the little blonde girl in your arm. And wait a minute, who was the interpreter? He said, oh yes, Kornitzer was the interpreter. And I have a picture with Mr. Nixon and Pat and my brother holding the shoulders, and this is the way I met with Mr. Nixon, and I got an answer from the White House. He said officially he can do anything because he just could work in the
Official
frame
channels.
of the, only that time already was restrictions, and that time was when Mr. Eisenhower gave 3,000 Hungarian refugees to come to the United States. Only they were already a long time in Austria. The one thing I have to tell you, I had a denial, a official denial. Only in that August, my mother-in-law arrived to the United States, and she was included to that 3,000 person. Now, I don't know, he did something or not, only my believing, he did something, and he probably gave a wire to the consulate and said, there is Rose Farago, and put it in because his son-in-law is here and his daughter is here, the only daughter. So anyway, my mother-in-law arrived also, and I think so I could thank that to Mr. Nixon. This was the episode with Mr. Nixon. And that's my story, and this is, if you have any questions, I would be very glad to give you, or if I didn't cover everything, or in the tape, in the future, if you're going to see the tape, if you have any questions or any doubt which I could clear myself, because my English is not 100%, and sometimes I am using certain words which I am translating the thought of the Hungarian, and sometimes it is misleading, or something, if it's coming up, I am very glad to explain it or change it. And I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Your story is a wonderful story, and it should be an inspiration to Americans who may not value the freedom that we have as much as we ought to.
I value the freedom because here it is very hard way. Only finally I became a sculptor in Columbus, Ohio, and actually I gave to the city a piece to commemorate and to prove it what the freedom means, and it is in the Battle Park at the waterfront, and there is the plaque where I am stating what the freedom means to me and what Columbus means to me. In the meantime, I have here a couple of pictures if you would like to see it. These are the immediate family of mine, or my wife, who perished in Auschwitz.
I would like very much to see them. I do have one question.
Yes.
Where did you get the strength to struggle as you did for all those years? Where does that strength come from?
To believing, first of all, the strength came from my upbringing, from my father and from my mother. First of all, I was all the time a proud Jew. Even when I was a little boy, I was a proud Jew. Even when it was very hard to be a Jew, because after the 1968 war, in the Israeli war, there was easy to be a Jew because we had some background. Only in the darkest way, somehow I believed the identity of ours and the humanity of the Jewish faith. And to be a Jew, you don't have to be strictly, if we are taking off everything, if you are a human, a good human, you are a Jew. And that's believing. It was giving me a strength. It was giving me a strength in 1937 when Ribbentrop was going to Moscow and making the pact with Stalin. And that time the Nazis said, oh, the whole world is going to be ours. And I am the little Jewish boy who was telling to myself and telling to everybody, where it is a government is oppressing people, the oppressor can't succeed. And it's somewhere, somehow, we have to succeed. And for where it came from, I can't point out. I am not religious, so-called religious. I am not a pious Jew. I am a proud Jew. And I am here telling you, everybody, I am in the United States. I am a proud citizen. Only I am proud to be a Jew also. And this is the way I was thinking from the beginning, and this is the way the strength it came. I am going to survive. I have to survive. I told the episode how my brother gave me a strength, because he was a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a doctor, and he gave me a strength when he was giving me a letter when I was going on the battlefield. And he asked me to open the letter when I crossed the border. And in that letter was nothing else, just his picture. And the back of the picture, he just gave me a note to not to forget my name. My name was Goldstein, which means a stone and a gold stone. So be as strong as a stone and be as valuable as a gold. And the last thing what I was departing in the situation when I was captured as a prisoner of war, that picture. I was holding this, I was stark naked, only I hold on that picture. Certainly they were taking away that picture. And this kind of things gave me a strength. And this kind of things gave me strength to go through again. And 3 times in my life I started my life. And this is the way it is. And because of the circumstances and the history which is going parallel with my birth, that's why I am giving you a word which don't take the politics. Because here we are saying in the United States we are having a good talk. Oh, this is politics. Like it's nothing. The politics is your life. That's your life. And I was the first one, and even I was too early, 3 minutes, when I was taking the citizenship vote. And we had to wait in the immigration office because it was 10 o'clock the entering, and after 10 o'clock I could take the vote after 5 years. I was so eager to go there to be a citizen and to vote. I didn't vote in Hungary. I never had a chance to vote in Hungary. Here was the first time where I was able to vote. And it makes no difference who you are voting, only how important it is to vote. That's the realization in this country, is the freedom. And the freedom is, we know it is not everything is beautiful and everything is rosy. Only still we don't know a better one in the whole world, like the United States, where everybody has the freedom to speak. I don't know, it is on the tape still. Oh, okay, so anyway, this is my view and this is my answer to you. And still, when I retired from the advertising office, so-called retired, I am a full-time sculptor. And 14 years I am sculpting, and I am working more and laboring today more than I work ever, because the time is urging me. You know, we are getting every year older and not younger. So we have an aim to produce the most. And this is my most valuable thing, the time. I would like to stretch the 24 hours to 48, only I can't. So I am a happily and hardworking sculptor, and thank God to give me the strength to be one.
Thank you very much.
You're very